Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to move beyond, just feeling grateful. We want to explore how gratitude can be used as an intellectual tool.
Exactly, like a mechanism for achieving real, tangible outcomes in your life.
We are diving into some really interesting material that connects philosophy, perspective, and what the author calls necessary vulnerability.
That's right. Our source material today comes from the work of Frederica Carrier, and we're looking at a couple of posts from her Simple Gratitude series.
Okay.
And our goal is pretty straightforward. We want to unpack how she defines three key concepts: perspective, reminders, and something she calls the necessary cry.
And not just as abstract ideas, right?
Not at all. We want to understand them as like practical stages in a system for self-governance and for finding your direction.
So our mission really is to strip away the usual sentimental stuff around these words and find the operating instructions inside this philosophy. How do these ideas actually help you when you're navigating a tough phase? We're looking for the so what for you, the listener, who's trying to set a clear course.
And we start with day 8 from the series, which just immediately challenges this assumption that perspective is, purely mental or abstract. Carrier asks a really fundamental question. If I shift my perspective, does that action itself have a measurable, tangible result?
And she answers it right away.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, but only if it's, and I'm quoting here, attached to outcomes.
Yes, and this is where the core metaphor comes in. It gives us something we can really hold on to. She describes perspective as a sponge.
A sponge, okay. An absorbing mechanism.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating here is that the tangibility doesn't just come from the sponge existing. It comes from the intentionality of the soaking.
Right.
The source says what you supply as the source for it to soak up is exactly what you squeeze out, which puts all the responsibility for the outcome on you.
So it's about what you choose to let in.
It's all about the input.
If we think about that practically, the danger isn't just that there's negativity out in the world. It's that we so often absorb it unconsciously.
Yes.
We soak up pressure from a meeting or a criticism or what we see on social media, and we don't even realize we're feeding the sponge with toxic material.
That is a crucial distinction. The analysis here suggests that getting a healthy outcome requires you to consciously filter the input. It's an active, daily maintenance task.
And she has a great analogy for this.
She does, a very relatable one. The fries and salt example.
I love this one. It's such a great example of setting a boundary through choice. She says, I don't criticize my fries for the salt on them. I just don't eat them with salt.
Right.
You, the listener, don't have to judge or fix the external thing. The salt is there, fine. But you have complete agency over whether you consume it.
And that agency is the mechanism for a healthy receptive view. The gratitude here isn't for the fries or for the salt, but for the clarity of choice itself.
The reminder that you are in control.
Exactly. When you consciously choose not to absorb that salt, that criticism, that pressure, you're guaranteeing that what you squeeze out of your sponge later will be cleaner.
This brings up a really important question for anyone listening, especially if you're in a complex environment. How do you identify the salt before you eat it? I mean, it means learning to pause and actually analyze where your emotional reaction is coming from before you just let it soak into your perspective.
And that necessity for a pause brings us right into the next concept in the source material.
The redefined role of reminders.
Yes. If perspective is the container, the reminder is the signal that forces the choice.
She is very explicit about redefining them, which I think is so important for emotional health. Reminders are not corrections.
Right, because when someone feels corrected, what's the immediate response?
Defensiveness. You shut down.
You shut down. But by calling it an enhancement, the perfect topping to a masterful plate, the whole dynamic just shifts.
It's a psychological tool then.
A very practical one. If I get information that challenges my thinking, and I see it as a topping, something that adds to what's already good, I can bypass that reflexive, defensive reaction.
And she takes it even further. She calls a reminder a constant friend of my destiny. Now that is a powerful reframe.
It's huge, because if this prompt, whether it's from inside you or from someone else, is aligned with your destiny, then it's on your side.
So there's absolutely zero reason to be defensive.
None. It exists purely to provide balance. Its function is just to introduce that necessary pause.
To stop you from just running on momentum.
Right. It's like a little speed bump, giving you a chance to check the map. That pause is your moment of agency, where you decide what to do next. It prevents a knee-jerk reaction.
Let's connect this to the analogy she uses for it, which is just as nuanced. Reminders are like Mint added to or left off my life journey plate.
Yeah, and this goes way beyond a simple take it or leave it. Mint is complex. Sometimes the journey absolutely calls for the sweet medicinal healing of mint.
It's refreshing, it helps, it brings clarity.
But other times, that same mint would be completely wrong. It might overpower or take over the process.
So the gratitude is for the option of the mint.
Yeah.
Just for it being available, not that you have to use it.
Exactly. The reminder's value is in its existence as a possibility for balance. A good reminder brings up the wisdom you need to know when and where to apply that insight.
Even if that wisdom tells you to just leave it off the plate for now.
Especially then. This is so critical for leadership. A leader gets constant feedback reminders. If they feel like they have to act on every piece of mint, they lose their own direction. The wisdom is accepting the reminder as a friend, pausing, and then deciding if this specific flavor enhances your path or just overpowers it.
Okay, so if perspective is a mechanism for choosing your input, and the reminder is the trigger for the pause, that leads us to the third and maybe most vulnerable concept,
Yes.
gratitude for a cry, which, the author insists, is driven by necessity, not just emotion.
We're shifting into the reflection on finding clarity, which she often describes as navigating a valley. And this concept really challenges our usual view of vulnerability.
How so?
It's an intensely personal moment, but she talks about it with this sense of distance, noting she sometimes feels like a bard describing someone else's adventure.
That's interesting. It suggests that even in that deep vulnerability, there's a capacity for objective reflection.
There is. And she gives us the acronym CRY, which completely redefines what's happening in that emotional moment. It stands for constant, resounding yes.
A yes, not a breakdown.
Exactly. The cry isn't about sadness or pain, it's an affirmative act. It is a yes to my spirit to be soaked unashamedly.
It's strategic and empowering.
It is because it's defined by necessity. The system is calling for a full spiritual wince, a moment where clarity requires a necessary release of what that sponge has absorbed.
And the practical purpose of this is made so tangible with the metaphor she uses. The cry is like windshield wipers cleaning the glass in order for a driver to see clearly where they are headed.
It's perfect, isn't it? The wipers don't work unless the situation is messy, unless there's rain or mud. The tears.
You need the release of that emotional fluid to clear your perspective, the windshield, so that you, the driver, can actually see the road ahead.
The cry is the vital mechanism. It serves as the compass.
So what's the measurable outcome of this necessary vulnerability?
Clarity. When the spirit sends that signal and the tears flow, the source says that coordinates are being formed and a specific heading being made clear.
Wow. So that means tears are never wasted.
Never. They're the signpost. They signal that clarity has officially arrived.
This completely reframes the whole process of emotional release.
It does. Instead of seeing vulnerability as a drain of energy, we can see it as a necessary expenditure of energy to achieve vision. The strength we find afterwards is literally born from the valley.
You couldn't have gotten those coordinates unless you went through the tough terrain that required the cleaning action.
You couldn't have.
It's a remarkable systematic approach. It elevates being vulnerable from a passive emotional state to an active strategy for leadership and mental wellness.
You have to allow yourself to be soaked unashamedly to gain the objectivity you need to chart your next move.
Okay, so let's synthesize these three stages into like an operating system for the listener.
Let's do it. The process starts with perspective, the sponge. You have to be intentional about what inputs you allow in, setting those boundaries, the fries and salt choice.
Right. And that intentional perspective lets you welcome reminders, the mint when they show up. You see them as a friend of destiny, not a correction.
And that triggers the necessary pause. That's when you check your current path against your goals.
And those two things, intentional input plus balanced pausing, can ultimately lead to the necessary cry, the CRY.
The windshield wipers. When all the accumulated inputs and internal imbalances reach a critical point, the CRY provides that strategic release you need to fully clear the glass.
Providing actionable clarity, the direction out of the valley. This isn't just self-help platitudes. It's a really clear cycle of self-awareness. It means you are gaining knowledge quickly about your own emotional mechanics to help you set that clear heading for your life's journey.
Yeah, it allows you to move from just absorbing chaos to actively creating your own coordinates. It integrates self-compassion, the unashamed soaking with strategic planning, forming the heading.
A profound look at how intentional gratitude can structure vulnerability and clarity. Thank you for diving deep into this cycle with us.
My pleasure. And as you reflect on this structure, the intentional sponge, the balancing mint, and the strategic wipers, maybe consider this final thought.
Okay.
If the necessary cry forms clear coordinates for your future and receiving a reminder requires you to pause and choose your direction, what specific salt are you absorbing right now that is muddying your current vision? And what is the strategic, future-oriented heading you realize you need to adjust or commit to today?